So wait a minute. Can we really not discern for ourselves, even all the way back in the first centuries, just who was and who was not the ecclesia of the Bible? Frankly, this is not even difficult, folks. History is abundant and clear, but really, so is the Bible. We can track the 7 ecclesias, not churches. That's never a Bible word ever. It did not exist in Bible times as it originates in the Old English word cirque or circus, not the animal show, but an entertainment event, a very inappropriate title of Yahusha's ecclesia in any sense. He never established an entertainment event, and unfortunately, generally, the modern church offers exactly that, a show. Nice laser lights, and music is incredible many times. Paid musicians, many played in bars the night before, in some, especially the mega churches, but it just doesn't fly. This video is a perfect example. History tells us exactly which ecclesia is his, and which is not. However, we can follow their signs, their fruits, through history as well. We cover this in detail in Rest, the case for Sabbath in the different eras, over chapters, which you can download free in eBook at restsabbath.org or purchase in print internationally. This will be a rather brief video compared to all the information that you'll find there, but this will sum it up quite well. In the next video, we'll cover even more history, which will expose this to about the 4th century all the way through. At this point, we know the pattern continued for a century after Yahusha, which you saw in this video, and the apostles, for certain ecclesias keeping the biblical Sabbath, feasts, and commandments. In fact, that is what defines his ecclesia. Why don't we today? Well, many are awakened to this now, for this is the Bible paradigm and always has been and never changed, nor could it, even according to Matthew 5:17 through 20. The law, the Sabbath, even the feast cannot pass, period. Not even a discussion that can even be had in debate on that. Yes, the early ecclesia, the true one, that were the actual disciples of the apostles, continued these same practices. There's no gap for the Catholic Church to come in and exploit and, fill in with the opposite, which is what they represent. If you find a church that did not continue these, they are not his ecclesia, period, no matter who they are. They changed the Bible and its practice. The modern church originates in that concept of those who oppose the Bible and who crept in unawares, which we will deal with in the 3rd video as well. In the first chapters of the book of Revelation, Yahusha is speaking, and he identifies 7 ecclesias that are his. That's what he says. Those are his words. No one can dispute that. Some are better than others, of course, in terms of following his commandments, but nevertheless, he calls them his ecclesias, to which angels are in charge of each. They are the continuation of the next generation of ecclesias at the end of John's life, and after the other apostles were mostly gone. There is no gap here. One needs not look far to find them. The practice continued. Here's a map, and funny, this must be from a Catholic who, of course, highlights Rome, well, I guess as a part of Turkey, with a giant star. That's called stupid. Messiah, it's propaganda is what it is. Rome was not Turkey. Messiah defines Turkey as Asia Minor, as where his 7 ecclesias operate, named by areas specifically that we can still generally find. And none are in or near Rome. But man, is there opposition in Turkey, which included Rome. Now that means the opposite of his ecclesia. They faced them then, and we do now. in a much larger scope. Understand that. Folks, we are in the strong delusion that we were warned about, and it's been here for centuries. The synagogue of Satan, who say they are Yahudim and are not, but do lie. That's Revelation 29:39. Modern rabbinic Judaism is what that is, largely, as well as the Catholic Church, really, which was founded by the whole Pharisee paradigm. The Nicolaitans, a very clear description of the Catholic Church especially. We cover that in Answers in 2nd Esdras. You can watch that there. Those who follow Jezebel and the way of Kor, in fact. Turkey is also, though, where Yahusha tells us, and this is evil. This place is evil. I'm not saying that the nation of Turkey is evil. We don't even care about nations from that viewpoint. However, in that age, here's what it was known for: the very seat of Satan. It's where his throne is on all of earth. That's where Satan operates from, his seat of power. In fact, Constantine, the not so great, moved the Roman Empire capital from Rome to the seat of Satan. Isn't that nice? Well, he then merged that government with the church, the synagogue of Satan, in the seat of Satan. Way to go there, Constantine. You certainly were not so great. The wrong one, those who crept into the ecclesias to deceive. That's what we're told by Paul and Jude. Now we're going to cover those in this video. I can't imagine a better representation of the opposite of his ecclesia, but you don't need my opinion on that. Let's go to history and see what it says. Are we covering all of history in all of the thousands of years? This is a YouTube video, so the answer is no. Will someone find a quote that disagrees with something? Of course you will. The British propagandists are very good at making sure they line the walls of academia and scholarship with trash. However, the reality is, the truth is very easy to see, and you can test this for yourself. This is Tertullian, about 155 AD or so. All sources are found in Rest, the case for Sabbath. You'll see the number on the screen many times, and that correlates to the very back bibliography in the back of the book. So this is about a century after Messiah, who taught and kept the Sabbath and feast, as is all of his apostles. Now, we have well established that already. Go back and watch our Sabbath series and our feast series, and you'll see for yourself both the Sabbath and the feast were kept and taught by Messiah and the apostles, and you even see them in Revelation. They passed those practices on to the next generation, but Rome didn't get it, nor did the origin of what we call the Catholic Church. Why? Well, they are not his ecclesia, period. In fact, if you look at Rome, yes, there's an ecclesia in Rome, Priscilla and Aquila, but then you find them, they actually were exiled from there. So they're back in Asia Minor operating amongst the ecclesias that are mentioned in Revelation. So you can't use that one reference out of context and say, oh, no, the church was in Rome. No, whoa. The church was exiled from Rome, largely. It doesn't mean there weren't pockets still. Of course, I'm certain there were. But as a whole, and with the power of what the Catholic Church came out of, get out of here. That is outrageous. That is a government church, a movement, and one that had power way beyond what the ecclesia has ever even attempted. In fact, it's the opposite of the definition of an ecclesia, so it doesn't work. But Rome didn't get it, period. So, why? They're not his ecclesia. That's it. Tertullian is about to tell you that. He's going to admit it here, and, well, he's what would become the Catholic Church. That's the order that he rose out of, essentially, even though it wasn't called that yet, perhaps. But check this out. Tertullian says, by us who are strangers to Sabbaths and new moons, he even gets that wrong, it's actually months, but that's okay, and festivals, you mean the Bible practice, right? I mean, the one that's even in the New Testament, we've well proven. You have to go back and watch those videos if you haven't. So if they were strangers to the Bible, who exactly were they? Once acceptable to God, to Elohim. Okay, wait a minute. Once acceptable? No. Still acceptable. Now, here is the hypocrisy, the most illiterate hypocrisy imaginable. They take the biblical 7 feasts, holidays, and they say, oh no, those passed away, but instead, here, I want you to keep Christmas, and because that's the birth of Messiah. What do you think Shavuot was and is? That is the birth of Messiah. You know, this is ridiculous. They come to us and they say, oh, I want you to keep Easter because that is the resurrection, death and resurrection of Messiah. No, it wasn't. That's a pagan holiday. Those two are two of the worst occult holidays there are. And here's what's terrible. Right there in the feast schedule, on Passover and unleavened bread, is when you see him being taken captive and Yahusha was crucified. And then he rose on the weekly Sabbath. That's what the Bible says. Now, it's amazing that we have an entire plethora, an entire paradigm of pastors who've been taught by seminaries who just don't know this stuff because they don't know the Bible. They're strangers to it, period, by Tertullian's own admission. So, once acceptable to God, Elohim, the Saturnalia. Oh, what's that? That's the origin of Christmas, folks. There you go. And 155 A.D. Yes, wasn't called Christmas back then, or Christ's Mass, but the whole thing was brought back, and its origin is, well, orgies and all kinds of occult trash. The feasts of January, occult as can be. The Brumalia and Matronalia. Well, wow. I mean, you know, the worship of the ancient goddess. They call Mary now, but she's never the ancient goddess, not in Scripture. That is a lie. Are now frequented. So already in 155 A.D., wow. Wait, you mean the church, which could never be called his ecclesia, trashed the Bible and put counterfeit feasts in their place? That's exactly what I'm saying, because that's exactly what happened and is continuing in church pews to this day. Churches will shut down for, I know one mega church I remember I led worship in, used to just take 6 weeks of the year and they would shut down and they would operate like a totally different entity for 6 weeks, all about Christmas, 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 Christmas. We even had Christmas, pageants and plays and all those kinds of things. Yeah, you know what? The wrong time of year, wrong holiday, wrong God. Pretty bad. That is what Tertullian just told us here, though, and he is just telling it like it is. I mean, he's just recording history, that's all. He's what will become a Catholic, and he just recorded Catholic history right here, folks, as well as the Ekklesia. You can tell the difference between the two right here in this passage. It's very obvious. If the feasts and Sabbaths kept by Messiah and the apostles are already strange or foreign to his church, supposed church, in 155 A.D., about a century after Messiah, after the apostles, then his church, Tertullian's, cannot be the biblical ecclesia by definition, period. Now he continues. Gifts are carried to and fro, like Christmas, Saturnalia, as its origin is not the Bible. That included, again, orgies way back then. It was disgusting. Not only is it not a Bible practice, it is purely a satanic one. It's even named for Satan himself, Saturn. So, New Year's Day presents are made with din. Wait. So New Year's, another very occult event and practice. Of course, the Bible New Year is in the month of Abib, starts usually toward the middle to end of March. That's not New Year's Day that we celebrate. And sports and banquets are celebrated with uproar. Wow! This is 155 AD. Hello, Ken. How can we not put this together? How have we lost this? I mean, this sounds exactly like today. What do people do on New Year's Day? Well, they watch sports and parades. Hello. Then we have things like the Super Bowl, the World Series, the World Cup, Olympics, etc. Folks, all of that has occult origins. It doesn't mean you can't watch it, but the point is, when it's coupled with these pagan occult feasts, there's nothing good about the day. Nothing. There's nothing redeemable about the day, and there's no partaking of it in any sense that makes sense for a true believer. His ecclesias did not. Not initially. Eventually, these things would become infused in ways, especially as they were forced, even by militaries, to do so. Oh, how much more faithful are the heathen to their religion who take special care to adopt no solemnity from the Christians. Now, this is incredible because that's a very true statement. In other words, our opinion here is what he's saying, basically. The non-believer, the atheist, the occultists, do not adopt any of Christianity. They are more religious about their religion. Yes, atheists have a religion in which they are God themselves. They never will be, but that's their thinking. Bear in mind, his Christianity, though, is not the Bible ecclesia. His point, though, those non-believers don't adopt any of Christianity mostly. And it's a good point, because he is a witness that the church is adopting their occult practices in his age. He's really rebuking the church in saying such. Ask yourself this question. If the church becomes the world, is it Yahusha's ecclesia anymore? You know the answer. And already in 155 AD, we have found that definition. Those fruits of Tertullian's church, which would become the Catholic Church, which becomes Protestantism, a leg of it. Here's Polycarp of Smyrna. This is 69 to 155 AD, just before Tertullian's writing. That's when he was there. So, practice basically here to the late 1st century documented, and basically predates Tertullian's writing that we just covered. However, this is the transition period into the next generations following after the apostles. That's what we're looking for here, and that's what we're covering in this video. They continued the practice of the apostles, which included the feasts and Sabbaths. You'll see, here we go. But Polycarp also was not only instructed by apostles, and this is Polycarp, you'll see, of Smyrna. Smyrna is one of the areas of one of the 7 ecclesias of Turkey that Yahusha calls his. Get that? Okay. So, he was not only instructed by the apostles, he learned directly from the apostles. Understand that? Hello? I mean, yeah, we read our New Testament, but he learned directly from the writers of the New Testament. Think about that. And his practice was their practice. If you want to know what the continuation of the apostles was, follow their disciples. This is one of them. You must follow those who followed what they taught, not the opposite church, no matter how long it became throughout, or how large even, it became throughout history. Don't fall for the lie of the so-termed early church fathers, drawn with a demon at his feet like Origen. Many were occultists. They were not Bible believers. They weren't actually followers of the apostles, and they had no such connection. Most of whom are titled so are not early fathers of the Ekklesia of Messiah. See, that's the deception of terms like that the Catholic Church is famous for. Now, you have to look at each one individually and test what they say individually, and especially what they do. You'll know them by their fruits, as this is how we are taught by Messiah to judge. Oh, yes, in that passage where he begins with judge not, he continues to tell us how to judge righteously. If you aren't judging, you are not applying what he said. It takes an extremely illiterate church to misrepresent him in that fashion by only the first few words of the passage. Another example. One of the most profound illiteracies we've seen, when represented in full, it is exposed. And conversed with many who had seen Messiah, Christ, but was also by apostles in Asia. So that's Turkey, Asia Minor previously. Again, here's where he's from. Appointed bishop of the church in Smyrna. Appointed by who? By the apostles. And he's bishop of one of the 7 ecclesias that Messiah mentions by name. So, there you go. Always taught the things which he had learned from the apostles. Well, what did he learn? Isn't that what a disciple is supposed to do, by the way? I mean, how is it that some out there think the Catholic Church is the continuation of the apostles when they stand against them on most things? I mean, that is ridiculous. And which the church has handed down, and which alone are true. To these things, all the Asiatic churches testify, so all the churches in Turkey, Asia Minor, as do also those men who have succeeded Polycarp down to the present time. So even his successors, those that came after Polycarp for a season, for a time, followed the same footsteps. Folks, the practice of the Old Testament, which is the same as the practice of the New Testament for the most part, well, it continued through the early ecclesia of Messiah, the true one. Now, this is from Irenaeus, and again, he's not in the Bible ecclesia either. We're showing you 2 references so far that these are the opposite, yet they're telling the truth in this regard, and they don't understand it. You can tell either one of them. They're part of those who crept in unawares. Now, we'll cover those scriptures. He recognized that Polycarp was, in fact, the continuation of the apostles, and his church was not. How about that? More on Polycarp of Smyrna, again, 69 to 155 AD span. On the day of the preparation, at the hour of dinner, there came out pursuers and horsemen, and Polycarp was killed on the day of the great Sabbath at the 8th hour. What is that? This is from Martyrdom of Polycarp, Bishop of Smyrna. Now, basically, what we see here is that Polycarp, a continuation of the apostles we saw, the next generation, was also taken similar to Messiah and killed or martyred on the great Sabbath. What's that? That is the first day of unleavened bread, Abib 15, which is a feast Sabbath. It's the same day in which Isaac was offered in sacrifice, or to be offered. The same day Yahusha was and had to be crucified, as that is the covenant he follows, not the Passover lamb. In fact, the Pharisees exploit a gap in their observance between Passover ends, and then, there's this gap until the evening on their lunar calendar when unleavened bread would start. And this is how they really mess it up. And it becomes 8 days rather than 7, which you would think most people would be able to see, especially scholars who, counting to 7 is rather difficult for them, evidently. Now, Yahusha was crucified on the same day, which is why it is called the Great Sabbath. But the whole point is the Lord's day, his day, the day he said he was Lord of, is the Sabbath. And the day he was crucified was the Sabbath. Watch Isaac's Sacrifice, as well as parts A through C of our Sabbath series, or read Rest, the Case for Sabbath. We have whole chapters on this, and we really break it down. We prove it. We're not doing that in this video. So don't try to debate here, or you will be muted. Our channel, our rules. Vita Polycarpi, 3rd to early 4th century roughly. This work is attributed to Paeonius and is dated anywhere from the 3rd to early 4th century AD. Many historians view the Vita Polycarpi as a book of legends and fantastic supernaturalism, quoting non-existent documents, and not of any real historical value beyond what was taking place during the 3rd or 4th centuries. However, now get this, read this, finish the paragraph. Most people don't. However, many historians view this document as having some historical value, such as in its descriptions of the life and liturgy of the 3rd century church in Smyrna. That's what matters, as well as Christian interactions with the Jews. So understand, some don't agree with everything this guy wrote. Okay, so surprise, surprise. But they do take this portion as history as having value regarding the church of Smyrna, one of the 7 ecclesias of Messiah, and that's what we're looking for here. Don't care about the rest. Following the time of the apostles, documented as fact here. This is, and again, we've already seen it in 2 other references, this is the track of the true ecclesia. It's not perfect, but nevertheless, his ecclesia. And notice, martyrdom was typical for these leaders just as the apostles, which sounds just like the continuation of the Pharisee practice, does it not? The synagogue of Satan. Yes, and they work with the government to have people killed. So they can say, oh, we didn't kill him. Yeah, we didn't kill Jesus, right? You're the ones that took him captive, held a trial, found the son of Yahusha guilty, put him before Pilate, who rejected you. Then you had to bring him back. Finally, Pilate washes his hands of the whole mess because he knows you're wrong and evil. And, I mean, come on, this is so obvious. They play these games. And that is Talmudic doctrine, if ever I've seen any. This evil government and church, who merged in Turkey, where Satan's seat is and the synagogue of Satan operates, is the most disgusting organization in all of history, really, and it continues today. Its fruits are abundantly rotten and evil. If you haven't seen Answers in 2nd Esdras, check it out because we deal with that there. Ezra sees the continuation or more detail of Daniel's 4th beast, and he follows this great eagle empire and its final 3 heads, which are sleeping in more ancient times, but awaken in the very end. And man, you will get goosebumps like you have never had. I mean, why were they killing the ecclesia? Because they kept the feasts and Sabbaths of the Bible as well as the law as the apostles did. Because they were the continuation of the apostles. Of course, you already know, Yahusha said the world will hate you just as they have me. Now that threatens the Catholic Church as well as Rabbinic Judaism, and they are not his ecclesia. Never were. That's the point here. There are those such as Mel Gibson's father, for instance, who tried to take Catholics back to an age before this modern abomination. He at least admits that the modern church is an abomination. However, the problem is there's no such age. It never existed. The very foundation, the Catholic Church, has always been a satanic operation, the synagogue of Satan, really. You can never get anything valuable from that foundation. It's sinking sand, scripturally. And the Protestant church is still built on that same foundation, as Martin Luther set out to reform or rehab the bad foundation built on sinking sand. He was wrong about that. So again, he covers the 3rd century church in Smyrna, ecclesia really, as well as Christian interactions with the Jews and pagans. Specifically relevant to this discussion, he writes, The Christian community in this region of Smyrna is specifically described in the Vita Polycarpi as keeping the Saturday Sabbath in the same manner of the Jews and gathering for biblical instruction and to celebrate Sabbath as a feast day with their brethren. Now, what defines his ecclesia in that age? Well, the same practices that define his ecclesia in all ages, keeping the Sabbath, the feasts, and his commandments. You will know them by their fruits. This is what the apostles practiced, and it's what Messiah practiced, and it's what we should be practicing as well. The modern church fails in this regard. In the next video, we'll cover even more history, which will expose this to about the 4th century all the way through. At this point, we know the pattern continued for a century after Yahusha, which you saw in this video, and the apostles, for certain ecclesias keeping the biblical Sabbath, feasts, and commandments. In fact, that is what defines his ecclesia. Why don't we today? Well, many are awakened to this now, for this is the Bible paradigm and always has been and never changed, nor could it, even according to Matthew 5:17 through 20. The law, the Sabbath, even the feast cannot pass, period. Not even a discussion that can even be had in debate on that. Yes, the early ecclesia, the true one, that were the actual disciples of the apostles, continued these same practices. There's no gap for the Catholic Church to come in and exploit and, fill in with the opposite, which is what they represent. If you find a church that did not continue these, they are not his ecclesia, period, no matter who they are. They changed the Bible and its practice. The modern church originates in that concept of those who oppose the Bible and who crept in unawares, which we will deal with in the 3rd video as well. As we are entering the fall feast season right now, as this video airs in September, basically we encourage everyone to keep the biblical feasts, because this is what the biblical ecclesia did. Again, you can see it even a few centuries after Yahusha, we still have that track there. Don't follow the synagogue of Satan in the Catholic position, nor that of rabbinic Judaism, which is Phariseeism. Follow the Bible, which proves Messiah and the apostles continued to keep and teach the Sabbath and feasts of the Bible. No more counterfeit holidays in hypocrisy. Let's keep his feasts. Why would you keep a shallow, hollow, occult day in its place? We release videos for this fall feast season with dates. The dates do change every year on our Roman calendar, though not on the Hebrew calendar. The Day of Trumpets this year, September 21. The Day of Atonement, sundown on September 29 to sundown on September 30th. Yes, it's Abib 9 and 10. Got to read Leviticus, folks. It's there. But we cover that, and we even cover the calendar and the fact that the day begins at sunrise right there in that schedule. It has to. So basically, atonement is an evening practice. That's why that is something that starts in the evening and is centered around that. And that's a normal concept in Scripture throughout. Of the 2 sundowns, basically, when you look at it there, they prove that the day does begin at sunrise in Scripture. And then we have the big one, the longest feast of the year for 8 days, called the Feast of Tabernacles. This is the most fun feast of the year, and it's far greater than Christmas, far more fun. The kids will love it even more. From October 5th through October 13th, 2022, that's this year. Again, you'll have to check the dates for next year. And in this video, we cover the details, each of these videos, as to how and when we observe these. These should be they should not be foreign to us. They are, and they used to be to us too, because they are to a church that is foreign to the Word. Foreign to what the biblical ecclesia practice, which you've seen in this video. And they certainly never were to his ecclesia. See, even in the first generations, for centuries after the apostles, the track is there. This is so well documented and yet ignored by the modern church, who hates the word far too often. They hate the law. They don't want to be held accountable, and they don't want to be called sinners. Yet Romans 3:23 is clear we all are. Messiah is the only one who lived perfect. So get over yourself and figure out that you're going to sin. You're going to screw up. And you know what? There is forgiveness. No one operates 100% in the law. Only Yahusha did. No patriarch ever did. Yet they're still going to be in the kingdom of heaven. Hello. So I know they don't want to hear it, but especially not the correction that comes with it. So you see rebuke on this channel. And hey, we ain't perfect either. We've had videos where we've gotten our math calculation wrong, or we've had videos where we have typos or whatever. And anyone can come in and try to ridicule 450 videos and say, oh, well, on this video they did this, on this video they did that. So what? Our teachings are generally accurate and generally excellent. Not perfect, but excellence is what we strive for. However, we who are mature test and accept this increasing knowledge of really the ancient biblical perspective, which has never really changed. We pray you keep the feasts, my friend. However, now you know there's no gap in observance among his ecclesias. Never exists. There is no justification for a Catholic Church, nor really even Protestant for that matter. Even the word church we discussed. There is relationship with Yahusha and Yahuwah through his word, and his word says to keep the feasts and Sabbaths and commandments. Even in Revelation and an end times context, which we have already well covered. There is no debate on any of this because Scripture is far too clear and far too abundant to even attempt it. And that's why we wrote this book, Rest the Case for Sabbath, which is over 400 pages with over 1,000 biblical and 200 historical references. Yes, we prove our position, folks, as we normally do. No one will even prove that wrong. It won't happen. We can all restore his ways. It's not about condemnation, though. Most of us have all been there. Certainly we have. We used to peddle the church's lies on this. Not anymore. May you enjoy this feast season, my friends. We have almost 450 videos on this channel, one for every day of the year, many just as profound, with some 50 or so in Tagalog for Filipinos, and now 6 in Spanish to start. We also have been setting up subtitles for 20-plus languages for most of our videos. Don't forget to like and subscribe and click the bell for notifications of new uploads. Join our email list as YouTube fails to notify often, and we will notify you ourselves at thegodculture.com. Just fill in the pop-up there. We now have alternative platforms for videos on Rumble, Odyssey, and Utreon, and our new podcast is also available for all of our videos as well. All links in the description box. Friend us on Facebook at The God Culture, _space original. If you prefer an alternative, we now have Parler and Gab. Links below. We have 6 books published internationally, being read in over 100 countries, with a new release now available. The first book of Enoch, the oldest book in history, and we prove it right there in the introduction. Read it. We also have now launched Ophir Philippines Coffee Table Book in the US, Canada, UK, and many overseas markets on Amazon. And it's available in hardcover or softcover there. Additionally, we launched the Book of Jubilees, the Torah calendar, with color maps and interior, as so many had requested overseas. We already had that with color maps in the Philippines, but that too is available in hardcover or softcover, both in color or also in black and white, if you wish. All books, including Solomon's Treasure, are now free in eBook. Yes, Folks, our content is free. And don't forget, the book of Enoch, First Enoch, is also available in hardcover color, softcover color, and black and white color on Amazon. But in the Philippines, it's just black and white. That's all we can offer at this time. Just go to ophirinstitute.com for all the links for your area for all of our books. More coming soon. Thank you for watching. Now, always remember, prove all things for yourself. Yah bless to everyone.